Hi everyone, today we will be doing a training on mental health customer service. This is very important working with the population that we do at Therapeutic Connections. I just want to kick off this training with reminding everyone of our mission statement and our vision statement, which is to provide comprehensive mental health services that will positively impact individuals, families, and organizations through compassion, professionalism, and partnership. This is what we stand on here at Therapeutic Connections, and it's important to keep these things in mind when having interactions with clients and community partners. So these are just key skills that everyone can possess, which are interpersonal skills, clear communication skills, conflict resolution skills, crisis management skills, being able to be assertive and direct, being knowledgeable, and being an advocate for the customer. These skills are very important to have when working with our population, whether that be a therapist, a rehabilitation coordinator, or just an administrative staff. We are having contact with clients, and it's important to utilize these skills to make sure that the clients have a good experience. So it is good to remember the last method whenever you're having an encounter with a client, especially a client that has an issue or a problem. This last method can help to ensure that you resolve the client's problem as well as providing them with great customer service as well. So the L in the last method stands for listen. So basically, you need to have that active listening skills, making sure you're figuring out what the client's concern is, what their problems are, and you can show that you're listening by giving verbal and nonverbal feedback, which can include head nods and repeating back what the person said to you to make sure that you clearly understand their needs. The A in the last method stands for acknowledge or apologize. So, this is when you use your words to empathize with the client. You let them know that you acknowledge their feelings and that you acknowledge that they're going through a tough situation. Please avoid things like apologizing for, um, you don't want to accept fault, essentially. A good thing to say is, I'm sorry you had a bad experience, or I apologize for the inconvenience this has caused you. So that way you're not placing blame on anyone and you're not accepting fault for what's happened to the client. The S in the last method stands for solve. And this is when we try to solve the customer's problem. You can offer resolutions. And also, if you can't find a resolution, you can also inform them about the next steps that you're going to do to help them. For example, you may not be able to solve their problem, but you can refer them to someone else who can help, or you can refer them to additional services that may be able to assist them. This is where that customer advocacy piece comes in because although you may not know the answer to their problem or you may not be able to solve their problem, you can still extend a helping hand and be an advocate for them to get their needs met. And the last thing, but definitely not least, and the last method, the T stands for thank. And it's just thanking the customer for one, bringing the problem to your attention. Too many times people will have an issue, and sometimes they don't want to bring it to the attention to the person because they maybe feel like their problems can't be fixed or their needs cannot be met. And also just letting the customer know that you value that they're choosing therapeutic connections to help them with their services and that they have and to show appreciation for their commitment to our company. Helpful tips when engaging with clients and things to keep in mind when trying to provide great customer care is to be mindful and in control of your own emotions. Yes, we work with people in that struggle with mental health issues, and we have to be mindful of our own opinions and our own feelings so that way we're not projecting that or bringing that into the interactions that we're having with our clients. Also, try to be positive and have a welcoming attitude. A lot of these people, these are tough times in their life, or they have a problem that have them upset, that they're unhappy about, and that positivity that you bring can help them feel at ease and more calm and let them know that you really are here to help. Don't take the transaction personally. If someone isn't happy with something and they tend to be, they could be mean or they can be nasty, just know that it's nothing against you personally and it's them reacting to the situation at hand. Show sympathy. You have to let the customer know that you really care about their issue and that is just as important as to you as it is to them. And the best way to do that is to think of a time where you were in that same situation. Think of a time where you were trying to solve a problem and think about how you will want that person to help you. Remind them that we work as a team to help them. This is that collaboration and knowledge piece. You have to remind the clients that our ultimate goal is to help. And even if you may not be able to solve their problem, we will work together as a team and you can ask for your supervisor or other resources to help you. But to remind them that we at Therapeutic Connections, we are a team and we're all working together to provide great service to the client. And last but not least, never voice disagreements or personal opinions with the client. If you may agree on that about their things that they're unhappy about, it's best to keep that opinion to yourself. And it's part of being professional as well. Next, we're going to go into the second part of the mental health service training, which is tips and tricks for dealing with difficult customers. Alrighty, this is the second part of the mental health customer service training, which is some tips and tricks about dealing with difficult customers. So, of course, the objective is to identify different kinds of difficult customers and discuss techniques that you can use when dealing with these customers. The first type is the aggressive customer. They're very easy to identify. They tend to be very abrupt and vocalizing their unhappiness or their problems. They can either have covert or overt assumptions, as well as potentially adult tantrums. This can be common because most people, when they're upset with something, they tend to express that in an aggressive way. Statements that they may use include, I want to speak to your manager. I have a complaint that I want to make. I'm very upset with the services that I have been rendered. Some techniques for dealing with aggressive clients include acknowledging the customer's aggression, but don't fall into an argument with them. You can acknowledge their feelings. Again, going back to that, showing empathy, but you don't want to get into an arguing match with them or a back and forth with them. You don't want to identify that your own personal feelings about it or um, attach your feelings to the situation. Again, being sure to have that calm and positive attitude, and also being sure to be mindful of your own emotions when entering these kinds of interactions. Expect to feel frustration because dealing with the aggressive person is a difficult thing to do. But it's great to be mindful and to be proactive and have those techniques in the back of your mind so that way you're not projecting that anger or frustration because it's going to turn into an argumentative cycle. And at the end of the day, the client's issue isn't going to be resolved and it's going to leave a bad impact on the client. They're not going to feel like their needs have been met and they're not going to feel like they've been heard. It's good to stay focused on the issue at hand. Sometimes when aggressive clients are expressing themselves, it may snowball into other things. You want to bring the client in on the initial issue at hand and making sure to keep them on that topic and resolving one issue at a time. If the client is rambling on and will not allow you to speak, try to maneuver in a break in the interaction. So that way they're not just ranting and ranting and ranting because nothing can get accomplished if the client is just ranting and not allowing you an opportunity to solve the issue. And if they tend to be very unhappy, you can ask them about some alternative communication measures, whether that be, if the person may be aggressive over the phone, maybe an email may be best, or vice versa. Or if it's best to be in a public area rather than somewhere private because they may not be as aggressive if they're in public. These are just things that you want to think about, especially for those that have direct client contact, like the therapists and the rehab coordinators. There are times where you may encounter a client that is unhappy, and you have to be mindful of those alternative communication measures so that way you can still provide therapeutic support and you're not at a standstill. The next is the indecisive client. They can sometimes be difficult to identify because they can be avoidant of the conflict altogether, or they just might not be um, confident in their opinions or their ideas. So, excuse me, the biggest thing is to not offer your own personal opinions or ideas, but to respond in a knowledgeable way. You want to give the client a list of different options that fit and then allow them to make a decision. But you don't want to give them your opinion on what you think is best. You want to let them know all of their available options. And that's why being knowledgeable is important as well. And being resourceful, because this is an most important time to be an advocate for those clients who are very indecisive on what services they want to receive, or if this is a good fit. It empowers the client to educate them, and that in education will allow them to further advocate for themselves as well. These type of clients may use statements like, I don't know, I'm not sure what to do. Um, this is something that I've never done before. And they're very indecisive about how they want to make a decision. Again, it's so important to gather as much information and be knowledgeable before you even attempt to address the issue at hand. So that way you can provide some type of solution and information for the client. It's good to reiterate your understanding of the situation and ensure that you understand the person's concerns, and also reassure them that you're knowledgeable about resources that can help. And again, if you're not knowledgeable, always, always, always refer to your team members, refer to other resources. No one is expected to know everything, but you can connect them to someone who does. And again, reminding that you want to explain all of the options to their customer and allow them to make the decision, because they ultimately have autonomy over the services that they receive. But you want to make sure they're educated to make good, educated decisions. And of course, before ending the interaction, just ensure that there isn't anything else that the customer needs. This is something that we should be practicing in general when having customer interactions. Once a problem is solved, or if there was never a problem, you're just providing a service to ask them if there's anything else that you could do for them. Next is the negativist. These clients can be very negative, but that doesn't mean that they have to be aggressive. Some negativist clients can just be not hopeful for treatment outcomes or things like that. Sometimes they can be very inflexible and resistant to change. and they're just not a fan of new ideas that don't already align with the ideas that they have. They can be friendly or they can be harsh as well, but they don't necessarily have to be aggressive. They just are hard at convincing them to do something or try something. Tips and techniques for dealing with negativist clients is to make optimistic but realistic statements. So, again, with the education, you want to provide them with realistic facts, great statistics, so that way it will counteract their already negative ideas. You want to stay away from solutions. So, you don't want to provide them with a solution because most likely they're going to be resistant to it anyway. So you want to provide them with that education so that way they can make an educated guess and come to the resolution on their own. You don't want to convince them that things are not that bad. You don't want to convince them that the way that they think is wrong. You just want to inform them with realistic statements, with facts, with statistics, and with resources and education. So that way they could hopefully make a better decision with that new information. And just keeping in mind of interactions you've had like this in person. Think times when you encountered someone difficult and how you dealt with it and what can be done differently next time. Well, that is it for our customer service training. It's just good to be mindful that of the population that we deal with and being mindful of different cultural experiences as well as um, different environments that people have grown up in and also age as well. We work with a variety of age groups, and you have to be mindful of that when providing service to a client. Ultimately, again, our goal is to educate and empower and provide compassionate service to the clients and their families. If you have any questions, please reach out to myself, Shay Reese, the administrative manager at Therapeutic Connections, and have a great day.